Well, as states now are beginning to roll back at least some coronavirus restrictions, a lot of parents are surprised to learn that the CDC's guidelines for summer camps is going to be very strict this year. It includes masks indoors and outdoors, as well as social distancing for all the kids. But Dr. Anthony Fauci says there could be some changes. Listen.
I wouldn't call them excessive. The CDC makes decisions based on science. They will continually reevaluate that. You're right. It looks a bit strict, a bit stringent.
Dr. Marc Siegel joins us now. He is a Fox News contributor. Dr. Siegel, let's pull up some of the guidelines so we can get on the same page here quickly. Masks at all times unless eating or swimming, no close contact sports, shareable objects got to be limited. Campers have to stay 3 or else 6 feet apart. They got to maintain that distance while eating, napping, or riding the bus, and 2 layers of masks when social distancing is impossible. Dr. Siegel, the first question here is, what data is behind these guidelines?
Well, this is very antiquated. It's out of date, and it's not based on current science. And first of all, Jillian, I'm worried that with these guidelines, I always say, well, the guidelines are just guidelines. But the problem is that if these guidelines remain in place, then there's potential legal problems if camps don't follow them, right? Well, first of all, we know from the course of the pandemic that COVID-19 that the SARS-CoV-2 virus is not spreading on surfaces very often, very unusual. Right. So why can't they share
objects? So no one
objects?
acts like it.
Second issue. Right.
I mean, you know,
exactly.
Every time I go into a store, people are still pumping me with hand sanitizer. I want to tell them the jig's up.
Well, I don't mind the hand sanitizer because, again, you could touch something and get it on your face, or, you know, I'm okay with the hand washing, but the surfaces are not where it's transmitted. And it's clearly a respiratory virus that's transmitted in the air. And here's the other part of the science. Multiple studies now have shown that it is not transmitted outdoors except rarely. A study in Ireland showed less than 1 in 100 cases was outdoors. Japan, here in the United States, the CDC has all of this data showing it's not spreading outdoors. Now, so you want to put a mask on a 2-year-old when it's not spreading outdoors, when less than 300 young children have actually died of COVID over the course of the entire pandemic. Flu has a very similar number than that. What is the public health cost of trying to do this, of trying to superimpose masks on kids who are doing sports outside? I was very happy to see that you don't have to wear a mask when you're swimming because there's 700 drownings every year among kids. Imagine if we forced kids to wear masks when swimming.
So take a listen. I'm laughing because some of this stuff is so obviously counterintuitive and dangerous that it's hard to have any other response. Okay, listen to the CDC director, Rochelle Walensky. I want to get your reaction on the other side.
What we're really trying to avoid in this camp guidance is what we saw in outbreaks and camps last summer. So if you have 5 10-year-olds who are on a soccer field, all in front of the same soccer ball, we're trying to make sure that they're not a lot of heavy breathing around a singular soccer ball with 5 kids around it at the same time.
All right, Dr. Siegel, here's the thing about what she just said. This summer ain't last summer. We're doing pretty well. Infections nationwide down 16% over the last week. Only 4 states saw an uptick in cases. 26 saw a major fall.
Yeah, and that's really correct, Jillian, and I'm glad you brought that up. And California has a test positivity rate of less than 1%. New York closing down on 1%, meaning 1 out of 100 people who think they have COVID are actually the only ones that have it. So we're going way down. And in addition to that, I want to add, you could test kids. I respect Dr. Walensky a lot, but she's leaving out that we now have rapid testing, home testing. You could do surveillance testing and keep everything open. You can't play sports with masks on. That just doesn't work. What about respiratory risks of taking a 4-year-old and having them run full tilt with a mask on? I bet there's more of a public health risk doing that than having the masks off. Kids are not spreading this. Kids are very unlikely to spread it. We've known that over the last few months. Counselors can get vaccinated.
Great. Sounds like a perfect solution. You always have a reasonable answer for us. Dr. Siegel, thanks so much.
Thanks, Jillian. Thanks for having me.